The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com.
Is the Morning Sports Desk on a Friday, the 25th of October. There's Corey Tackman. I'm CJ Baumgartner. Corey, it's a Friday, but oh my goodness, is it far from like weekend viewing for us. We have a lot going on with the high school sports scene. Let's start it off with your volleyball game tonight. Should be a nice one in Section 5A.
Section 5A volleyball, Sebeka versus Walker-Hackensack-Akeley, a 6:45 pregame with a 7 o'clock first serve on 105.9 FM, the Superstation K106, and at WadenaRadio.com. Sebeka, your 1 seed in the West subsection of Section 5A. Opening round winners over Verndale in 3. Walker-Hackensack-Akeley, the 5 seed in this subsection. They took out the 4 seed Nevis in 5 sets the other night, So these two teams get ready to play tonight. Yes, they did play during the regular season, but it was all the way back on September 7th. And it was a 3-0 victory for Sebeka in that matchup. So a rematch from, darn near 2 months ago at this point. Tonight in Sebeka, look forward to being there once again with Section 5A volleyball. I saw him on Wednesday night. To see him again tonight, it's go time, I guess. Pretty simple. So that's 5A volleyball action again on the Superstation K106 and WadenaRadio.com. You have 8AA volleyball once again tonight.
Yeah. Thief River Falls at Wadena, Deer Creek. Oh, Teef's come to town. You got to look out for Teef there. Anyway, the Prowlers of Thief River Falls are coming to Wadena, Deer Creek for a matchup. The Wolverines on this season, of course, got to the 20-win mark in their last game with a 20-9 record now on the season, 9-1 in Section 8AA. And they're going to put that to the test against a team that went 8-5 in the section this year. 19-8 overall are the Thief River Falls Prowlers. A season ago, they were 16-13, but now they have improved on that win total. They've improved on their seeding from a year before. They got a victory in straight sets against Pelican Rapids on Wednesday to open their playoff run. Wolverines got a straight sets victory against Crookston. We talked about that yesterday. These two teams, Corey, have not played each other in volleyball since 2014. So it'll be fun to see these two schools go back and forth at it again in Section 8AA. I think this will be a close game. I think this will be a good one. I think I have I take that back. I have 2 trains of thought on this game, Corey. It's either going to be a straight sets game or it's going to 5. There's just something in my mind. This is not going to 4. Whichever team ends up winning the first set's either just going to plow through or it's going down to the wire and we're going to be there till 10 o'clock. Either way, I think Wadena Deer Creek has the edge, being at home, being just the defending section champions. They've played really well as of late, Corey. The Wadena Deer Creek Wolverines have won 10 of their last 12. That's dating back to after that loss they had against Holly. Then they turned things around after that. They've won 10 of their last 12 and just really feel like they found a groove. Their only 2 losses coming to Wilmer, a 3A school, and believe there was another one in there. There was like a 4A school. So they've been playing their best volleyball of this season as of late, and they're going to put it to the test against the Thief River Falls team, who probably would say that they're doing the same thing. The Prowlers are currently on a 5-game winning streak as they're heading into this matchup tonight. Should be a good one. It is a 6:45 pregame, 7 o'clock first serve. You can listen on 101.7 FM and AM 920 KWAD. Also streaming online at WadenaRadio.com/KWAD. Should be a good one. And of course, if our teams win today, if Wadena Deer Creek wins, if Sebeka wins, they advance to neutral site games. Those would be played on Tuesday evening in their respective sites. 5A in Crosby Ironton and 8AA in Moorhead. Some other section games going on for volleyball. Bertha Hewitt and Browerville tonight. Eagle Valley, they're playing in Clarissa. That should be a fun game. 2 towns that are like the gym is right in between each of them. Should be a fun game, a little bandbox of a gym. New York Mills is going on the road to play Breckenridge tonight in another matchup in 6A as well. And I think that kind of does it for our local volleyball look at tonight across central Minnesota. But, Corey, we got more sports. We got more sports tomorrow on Saturday. We won't do a sports desk on Saturday, so we better talk about them. Corey, let's first start with the Staples-Motley Menahga game.
Yeah, 6AA playoff football tomorrow afternoon. That's a 1:40 pregame with a 2 o'clock kickoff on AM 1430 and 98.5 FM. The Fan, Tyler Grunwald, will have the action. Staples-Motley Cardinals hosting the Menahga Braves. Just 4 teams playing in this section tournament this year, with the Wadena Deer Creek dropping out, forfeiting out of the rest of the season. So this a 1-4 matchup. Staples-Motley on the season 8-0. They're awesome. Menahga 1-7 on the year. As a matter of fact, Staples-Motley number 10 in the state in Class 2A football. These two teams have not played this year, so really this is a matchup of discovery tonight. But also, to be fair to what this matchup is, this is if this were a full 8-team section, this is probably your 1-8 or 2-7 matchup also. So, yeah, I would suspect the Cardinals really to just kind of come out and take care of business. But Menahga is always feisty. That is, if I've learned anything about what happens in Menahga, is they absolutely will not give up, and they will absolutely make your existence annoying for however long it takes from front to finish of that game. So that's tomorrow afternoon, again on the Fan, a 1:40 pregame with a 2 o'clock kickoff. The Cardinals and the Braves, 6AA playoff football on the Fan.
The Fan. It should be a football game there that Tyler will do once again a great call on, and we will have action of that one, of course, on the Fan. Looking on over to the Superstation, K106, 105.9 FM, also streaming online at WadenaRadio.com, or the Superstation K106 mobile app. It is Parker's Prairie at Breckenridge. It's going to be a fun one, Corey. Breckenridge, of course, beat Parker's Prairie in the regular season. It's why the game is in Breckenridge compared to Parker's Prairie. And here we go. This is one where Parker's Prairie, it's deceiving if you look at their record and you say, oh, they were 4-0 to begin the year, but they were 1-3 in their last 4. So right. It calls into question something, but it really shouldn't. If you look at, they played 2 good 2A schools in Staples-Motley and Pillager, and then their other loss was to Breckenridge, who's a team that, like we mentioned with Menahga, they're a feisty program. Even though they feel like they're not quite where they normally would like to be for Breckenridge, they still are well coached. They still are always in the right spot. They are whatever. And that's a game where, you look at the back half of the Parker's Prairie schedule, and you maybe could read too much into it. They're still a really good team, a really nice team. And you saw that in the matchup on Tuesday night, where they absolutely took care of business against Ashby, Brandon, Evansville. And then the week before, they took care of business against Pine River Bacchus. So this is a team that I think is roaring. I think they're ready to get that revenge. I think that has motivated them throughout the week. I've not yet talked to Parker's Prairie head football coach Mike Johnson, but we do have an interview scheduled with him for the pregame show later today that I'm going to record with him. So it'll be interesting to see. Sometimes coaches, they're very coy, Corey. They like to kind of play off the fact of no, it's one game, one play. We got to just control, we can control, which is like the right answer. It's not a bad answer. It's just a very coachy answer. But then it's also fun, Corey, when sometimes coaches let you in on it and they go, yeah, of course they beat us in the regular season. Of course we're motivated to try and show that we're the better football team, right? It's fun when you get coaches that'll kind of lean into that, right?
Yeah, of course, because then we know they're not lying to us. Of course, this is a big game. Everyone knows it. Everyone on the planet is banking on this game being awesome. We talked about it a little bit the other day. There's no reason this isn't one of the best games in the entire state tomorrow. And it's just going to be an absolute slugfest. I know Mason Basil, running back for the Panthers, set some records. So, it'll be fun to hear what Coach Johnson has to say about what Mason did during the season and during their opening round victory. And if I'm Parker's Prairie, it's all very logical. Like the fact that this game is in Breckenridge, considering that Breckenridge beat them during the regular season. It all makes sense, but when you look at the QRF, Parker's Prairie is actually in front of Breckenridge. They're right next to each other. They're consecutive in the QRF rankings, but Parker's Prairie has a better QRF. They're higher seated. Their rating is better. But because of the loss to the Cowboys, this game gets to be in Breckenridge. I guarantee you that's a motivation in this game also. I think I'm just so excited about what that football game is going to bring to the table for those two teams, for those two towns, for us to have it on the air. I can't wait.
Mason Basil, according to the Echo Press in Alexandria, broke Parker's Prairie single game, single season, and career rushing touchdown record in the team's 62-6 quarterfinal win over Ashby, Brandon, Evansville on Tuesday. So look at the numbers, go read the article, and go dive in on all that. But yeah, safe to say he's meant a lot to that team, and he had a great game. So expect him to be a big part of Parker's Prairie's plans. Again, that's a 1:40 pregame, 2:00 kickoff on the Superstation, K106. Corey, I'm going to be up on the roof in Breckenridge again, so hopefully the gust of wind that's coming from Wahpeton doesn't blow me away.
Just bring the Superstation K106 kite with you, and you should be entertained that way at least.
Yeah. Listeners, I'm giving you a bird's eye view of the field right now is cover 2, and it'll be great. And then, they pause games sometimes because somebody's flying a drone over top or something like that, and they're just going to pause the game. Some radio bozo's 200 feet in the air, and you're just that's
and 106 stands for kite. Leave me alone.
This isn't military airspace. I have a right to be here.
Leave me alone.
Leave me alone. All right. Anyway, that's the football matchups there. Of course, New York Mills and West Central area is another one. Verndale and Nevis, another game to watch kind of in our regional listening area here for weekend football to keep an eye on. And of course, if teams get to the Fargo Dome, we'll have action there next Thursday and Friday. Otter Tail Central going to Border West too. That is another one on the schedule, on the bracket, I should say, for tomorrow. All right, Corey, there's our local volleyball and football. We forgot there's so much going on, Corey. I completely forgot in our 5-second pre-show meeting. Cross country sections were yesterday, and a lot happened in those. And Corey, where can people go if they want to see the results? Maybe on Facebook or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had Zeke out there kind of monitoring what was going on in the Section 6A cross-country meet for the boys and girls, and results posted at on the Sports Cow Facebook page. You, of course, have heard of the Sports Cow by now, resurrected from the dead during the spooky season of late October, and there they are. All the results are posted. It's your home now for Central Minnesota sports, all things Central Minnesota sports, high school related in particular, but we'll dip into some collegiate stuff when necessary, and of course plenty of state sports that will keep our lives relevant. But all those results posted on the Sports Cow Facebook page, to which we always say when we're done talking about Sports Cow, CJ, moo.
Yeah. If you don't like sports, then you're advised to steer clear of this page. But
that's exactly right.
But everybody should go to Sports Cow.
Section girls winners were Menahga area and Staples-Motley. Section boys teams winners were Sauk Center and Bertha Hewitt, the top two teams who qualify for state. Individual runners slipped my mind.
For the boys, if you're looking at the top 10 finishers in the section, for boys, Brady Rock of Bertha Hewitt, then in Carter Casebo from West Central area, Caden Vanderwall from Ortonville, Logan Weoff and Jacob Drevlo from Sauk Center, Zachary Bruder from Osakis, Peter Newark from Otter Tail Central, Grant Nelson from Wadena Deer Creek, Zach Palmer from Menahga area, and Neil Stadsvold from Sauk Center. Top 10 finishers in the boys race.
I think Brady won by 6 or 7 full seconds.
Yep. Yes, he did.
And I bring that number up because I think you're probably searching for the girls finishers right now. And Audrey Brunell of Staples-Motley, I know, was the top finisher. And the reason I know that is because she won her race by significantly more than 6 or 7 full seconds.
Audrey Brunell from Staples-Motley finished with a time of 18:33.9 for that 5K race, Corey.
Yep.
Nora Frosley running for Parker's Prairie.
Ran a great race.
Yeah, a good runner for the Panthers. Her time was 19:50.2.
Yeah, Audrey,
some quick math. That's like a minute 17 seconds.
Yeah, that's crazy.
A full minute. She was already like done with her post-race like stretch and jog by then.
She's awesome.
That was a great run. Amber Collins for Wadena Deer Creek finished 3rd. Julia Schmidt from Border West 4th. And then in consecutive order, Kaylee Holzner from Hillcrest Lutheran Academy, Aaliyah Holst from Staples-Motley, Victoria Leanscheid from Sauk Center, Kayleen Sewellflow from Sauk Center, Nori Song from Minnewaska area, and Menny Hansel from Bertha Hewitt finishing 10th there to qualify for the state girls race as well. Whitetail Run Golf Course is where it was held. Of course, it was beautiful on like Monday, sunny, 70-ish degrees. And then by Thursday, it's like low 50s, cold, overcast, wet, little rain. It was a lot like the section race last year in Long Prairie, where it was almost like these exact same conditions. And Coach Brunsberg of Wadena Deer Creek, when we do our Wolverines weekly interviews, will tell you, you don't want 70-degree weather. That's a little too warm for running. You want it to be kind of in that like 40 to 55-degree range, you know what I mean? Where it's like just warm enough where you don't need layers, but also not too warm where you're not going to overheat. And it was almost there if you just take out the fact that it was a little wet yesterday. I
was going to go. And for those who know that it's a very different climate, weather pattern at Whitetail Run than it is in Wadena. It's always different. It could rain in the middle of town and be sunny at Whitetail Run or vice versa. But I was going to go and it was raining in town. And I was like, I'm not even going to risk it. I am a fair weather outdoor. I don't golf in the, I don't try
literal fair weather.
I don't even deer hunt in the rain. I'm not doing it. I'm not going out there. So, congratulations to those runners. State meet next weekend, I think the 2nd.
Yeah, November 2nd is the day of that race down at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities campus.
Yep.
Running there.
Les Bolstead, the golf course.
Yep. The golf course a little beat up by that time, by the time of the race. But outside of that, it's a beautiful course. Nice little section there. Went down there last year. So, all right. Corey, why don't you talk a little state girls tennis recap because a WDC tennis duo is going to the Consolation Championship.
All right, let's do it. Let's start with the doubles tournament then. Yesterday, of course, we gave the update on what was happening with the Wadena Deer Creek doubles team of Anna Feemeyer and Kaylee Endress. Dropped their opening match to the duo from Pine City, 7-5 and 6-3. It moved them into the consolation bracket where then yesterday, Anna and Kaylee beat the duo from Pipestone 1-1. And then this morning, Anna and Kaylee beat Lydia Sparby and Kayla Strike from Belle Plaine 6-4 and 7-6, which moves them into the Consolation Championship. As a matter of fact, as we are doing this, CJ, it's 11:19 on the morning of the 25th of October. This match is scheduled to start at 11:30. It'll be Kaylee Endress and Anna Feemeyer of Wadena Deer Creek versus Kaylee Clausen and Addie Fee from Crookston. The 2-seed Wolverines versus the 4-seed Pirates in that Consolation Championship. So good luck, Kaylee and Anna, in that Consolation Championship. That moves us into the singles tournament, CJ, because from Staples-Motley, Ronnie Noska is participating. Ronnie had an opening round loss, I know, in yesterday's opening round to Casey Cronin from Holy Family Catholic. That moved her into the consolation bracket, where then yesterday Ronnie went on to beat Lydia Sweep of Morris area, Chicago, Alberta, 0-1. And then this morning, Ronnie beat Tabitha Barkowski of Maple River, 4-0. Ronnie is also playing in a consolation championship at 11:30 this morning. She takes on Brooke Boland of Pine City. So very good luck to Ronnie as well in that consolation championship. We are Central Minnesota once again dominating these state tournaments.
Yeah, love it. You love to see it. You love to see it. It was a great match, by the way, in that consolation semifinal game. I talked with Wadena Deer Creek co-head girls tennis coach Jill Feemeyer, and she literally was just walking out of the building from that match. She was like back and forth, exciting, tiebreak, like just all that stuff. She was still on the adrenaline high from that match. So it was a good one. And of course, Naska has been doing good things in the tournament. So by the way, we have interviews with both Ronnie Naska and the WDC tennis duo of Anna Feemeyer and Kaylee Endress. You can check all of those out on the Morning Sports Desk on YouTube at the Hubbard Radio-Wadena YouTube page, also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, under the Morning Sports Desk, or at wadenaradio.com. Or, once again, you can follow Sports Cow on Facebook.
Moo.
All right. I think we did it.
Amazing.
All of our states were, it's a lot. And sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, we got to talk about this and this and this and that. But it's great because we just talked for over 20 minutes of just local sports content. And this only happens a few days out of the season where we can just get sport after sport after sport after sport, all kind of lined up together in this playoff time. So it's really, really fun to see. Congratulations. Best of luck to all involved. Let's swivel things, Corey, out to state sports now. Let's start off with the Minnesota Wild, who got a 4-2 win over the Tampa Bay Lightning. All of a sudden, Corey, we talked about this with Zeke a couple days ago, and it was like the Wild were just kind of there. They existed over the summer. Nobody really expecting anything out of them. All of a sudden, Corey, they've started the season 5-0-2. They have 12 points in the Central Division. They're tied for second with Dallas, the Jets at 14. Doesn't really matter. We're 7 games into the season. But this is to say that, like, at the beginning of the year, it was kind of like, yeah, whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do. Excitement just come out of the gate. We've talked about the importance of that. So just want to acknowledge that they got wins over the defending Stanley Cup champions in the Panthers, and then over the recent team that's been pretty successful in the Tampa Bay Lightning. So the Wild have been playing really good hockey to start the season. It's been fun to see. All right, let's talk about the Timberwolves last night. They got win number 1. They had a not so great game against the Lakers. Still competitive, but they just looked shaky. Rusty's not the right word. They just looked out of sync. They looked out of sync for most of the first half against Sacramento in Sacramento. And I sent this text to you and Zeke last night. I said, why do the Wolves always play their worst basketball in Sacramento? Like, it just always feels like they never play a good game in that building. And then, of course, from the middle of the third quarter on, Corey, the Wolves just dominated them, and they ended up erasing a 15-point deficit, or a 10-point deficit, rather. They then take the lead to start the fourth quarter, and their defense, which end of the quarter, had 89 points allowed at the end of the third quarter. To end the game, they allowed a total of 115. So the defense locked down compared to the other 3 quarters, and Ant was able to get 2 key free throws at the end to win. And I know you weren't able to watch it because of the new FanDuel Sports Network.
Burn it to the ground.
And also because the game was like super late at night with a late tip-off on the West Coast. Corey, win number 1 on the Wolves season. They got it out of the way. We can stop panicking after that first loss.
Oh, were we panicking?
Yeah, we were like running hair on fire, pets' heads falling off, all that stuff.
I saw the final minute 15 because I just saw like somebody had posted it. Whatever, pretty exciting finish to that game. For Rudy had a big rebound and free throw to tie the game, and got the 2 free throws to get that 2-point lead. Good defense at the end. It was a shockingly decent look at it from Sacramento. Or good shot, considering 2 nice contests on a pump fake and then the actual shot. that would have gone in as the winner, but just a fun finish. I'm excited for 2025 Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm most excited.
The calendar year of 2025.
Yes, exactly. It's gonna be weird up until that point. Sacramento is always feisty. You're right. It's not just in Sacramento either where they struggle. I went to 2 Timberwolves games last year. I went to one of the playoff games, but I also went to a game where they lost to Sacramento in overtime. Like there's just something about Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox and
just run up and down the floor.
It's just a weird matchup for them for whatever reason, and they don't care about playing defense. So if you're not willing to keep up with them offensively, they're going to run you off the floor. But for the Wolves to get off the schneid and end what was a pretty brutal losing streak for Minnesota State sports, Game 5 of the WNBA Finals, and then a Vikings loss followed by a Vikings loss, it was feeling pretty miserable there for a minute or two. So for the Timberwolves to come back, even though it was late at night in the dark of night, that is a West Coast game, it at least feels like it hit the reset button on Minnesota State sports a little bit.
Just kind of flush some things out, Ant had a good game. He had 32 points in that one, 7 rebounds, 7 for 7 at the free throw line, which is important. And also, DiVincenzo had a nice game. Rudy had a nice game, whatever. Nas hit some big shots, but Julius Randle had a shaky first game in a Timberwolves uniform. He had a much better one in this one, 30 plus points, and was a big reason why the Wolves were able to overcome the Kings last night. Corey, there is a stat from I love some of these NBA stat accounts. This is a real page, not like this isn't NBA Centel. That's not what this is called. Stat Mamba. And it says that Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle are the first pair of Timberwolves teammates to each record 30 plus points and 5 plus 3 points made in a win, which is a cool stat in of itself, but it's shocking that never happened with Ant and Karl Anthony Towns.
It's a very specific stat. So it's 30 plus points and 5 3-pointers made
in a win.
It's pretty hyper specific, but yeah, I guess that is a little surprising because that would be how Cat would get a lot of his points.
It always felt like whenever Ant had a great game, not that Cat had a bad game, but it's like, okay, it's Ant's game. Let's get the ball to him. And when Cat was having a good game, it'd be like, okay, well, this is Cat's game. Let's get the ball to him. Not that this is going to happen like every game, but it's just an interesting thing. This is
thing that these two provide that the old guard, the old duo, just didn't. It's one of the reasons I think why people were excited eventually about this trade with Cat to the Knicks is that obviously getting DiVincenzo seems huge, and that guy is, boy, our fans are already in love with him, which is really fun. But Randall just provides this opportunity here now for a different, second, legitimate, get it in his hands and watch him go to work. And it's going to hopefully open things up for Ant and vice versa.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting pairing. Like we talked about, the Wolves are not as high-end talented as they were a season ago, but they are deeper. And DiVincenzo off the bench, not only with his 3-point ability, that guy, I haven't seen a lot of Dante DiVincenzo highlights, I'll be honest. Not since he was at Villanova. I just have not, he's not a guy I've just paid a ton of attention to, not for any ill reason, but just he was on the Eastern Conference. I just didn't care. And the Wolves weren't always good up until 2-3 years ago. So, but that guy's a bulldog on defense. That guy gets after it. He's fun to watch.
Yeah, they're going to be, I think they're going to be just fine. I think they're going to be just fine. I think
we always talk about offense with chemistry and flow. I think defense will also, the Wolves had one of the best defenses in the NBA last year. That's going to take some time. I don't think they're going to come out of the gates with the best defense like they did a season ago because of that same reason, where now Rudy's like, okay, well, Cat can do this. How do I play it? Now you got to deal with Randall and Devin. There's just a few more pieces that you defense is all about timing because it's about rotating and getting to a spot and picking people up. It's just as much about timing as it is for the offense. And so it's going to take them a little more time defensively, but I still think with the way DiVincenzo plays and Cat was a good defender. Like I'm not trying to take anything away. But
he was a fine defender.
Yeah. Like he wasn't a liability, but he also whatever. Like, I don't think you necessarily take a downgrade with Randall. And I think DiVincenzo is a good defender off the bench. The other guys are going to play good defense. I still think the blueprint is there. It's just going to take some time before everything meshes the way that they really want it to be. Like you talked about, we got to wait till Christmas.
They should be on paper more versatile than they were a year ago. Like the thing that Cat brought to the table was that he was the Jokic stopper.
Right.
So that was obviously really important because the West, as of a year ago, went through Denver. But he was asked to guard fours. Like he was asked to guard guys like Julius Randle, which is not a good matchup for him. He worked really hard at it, whatever. He was a fine defender. He did what he could. They are now more versatile. And it's not like, Cat's a big guy, but Randle is 6'8".
Right.
He's huge also. He's not as big as Cat, but he moves better than Cat. And
he's a more natural four.
And is more equipped to guard other teams' fours. Yes, it's all going to take some time. This team should be more versatile offensively and defensively now because of it.
Yeah, and as we talked about, they might not finish with the same record as last year or the same seed. They are just as good, if not potentially better, depending on how things shake out this year. So, go Wolf. Go Wolf.
Moo.
I was waiting for an awoo or something like that, but yeah, no, moo. Moo. All right. This one is going to have a sad moo. Moo. Because the
high note, I love it.
The Vikings played, I think the right term maybe is sloppy game yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about it. We said there's no reason the Vikings should lose because they are the least talented team. We said that the logistics are against them. Thursday night game on the road, coming off of a divisional game against the Lions where every team plays their worst game of the season after they play the Detroit Lions. And
this one happened to be on a Thursday. Everyone else has gotten a week to prepare.
Right.
Next game, the Vikings didn't even put pads on.
Right. And people look at the Rams and say, oh, the Rams were 2-4 coming to this game. How do you lose them? Watch the Rams when they were fully healthy and they played Detroit and they went into Ford Field and almost beat them. So this Rams team is good on their offensive side. When their offense is clicking, they are tough to stop. When Stafford's healthy, they got Kupp and Nakua back, and both those guys looked healthy. And
I'm sorry I didn't respond, by the way, to your text where you said you had a glitch and Puka stayed on your bench. That stinks.
Wouldn't let me get him out of reserve. And then by the time they finally did, it signed me out. And then I had to sign back in. And then it was kickoff. And they're like, too late. And I'm like, whatever. It's in a league where I'm going to get reamed from that guy on my bench. But whatever. Yeah,
29 points or whatever he scored.
I think just overall, we came into that. Here's the thing about this. Yeah, they've lost 2 in a row. They have not looked great, especially defensively. So that's the 100-foot view of like, if you're just looking at things in the microcosm, the defense feels like they're not getting any pressure. The offense is kind of starts out really well and stagnates middle of games. They weren't able to finish drives in the second half. But 1,000-foot view, Corey, they're 5-2 after 7 games, and they have a very soft spot in their schedule coming up. If you would have said the Vikings are 5-2 going into their week 9, whatever matchup with Indianapolis, I think we'd all take that outcome. No questions asked. It's just the way it happens feels a little disappointing, but they have Indianapolis, they have Jacksonville, they have Tennessee, and then they have Chicago, Arizona, Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle, and then Green Bay, Detroit. Up until you get to Green Bay, Detroit at the end of the season, those last 2 games, no opponent scares you. Not that you should win every game, but no opponent scares you in that one. There's no like gird your loins and get ready for battle. You know what I mean? Like the Vikings are going to get help with Dalton Reisner coming back. TJ Hawkinson's coming back. Blake Cashman's turf toe has to heal at some point. I know Darisaw got hurt. He's week to week. We'll see what happens. Even if he's out for a few games,
he might be
dead. For all we know. If he's only out for a few weeks, you can survive that with this point in the schedule. It's not ideal. There were some bad things in that loss. I'm going to get to the 1,000-foot view right away and say the Vikings are going to be okay. They're still going to make the playoffs at this point. They're still in a really good position. to be a good football team this year. Before we get into the minor stuff, before we get into like the game, I think we both agree, Corey, that like 1,000-foot view, Vikings are all right.
Yeah, you don't. I think that was for you. I think you needed to get all that off your chest to convince you. I have specific things about this game that I want to talk about that are also, let's take our foot off the gas pedal of doom. Like right. I just, yes, there's no, they're fine. Now they might not be right, but I would have said that when they were 5-0. I would have said that 10 days ago when they were still 5-0. They might not be at the end of the season, but like there's some specific things I think you can point to that lead you to believe that A, they're fine, these are fixable things, and B, the things that bit them are just not like, this is all approachable from a game by game perspective, I guess.
What was it, the old quote they used to say about Christian Ponder? Easily correctable mistakes. Stuff that's going on. I think
they weren't.
According to Kevin Seifert of ESPN, Corey, he looked at the pressure rate that the Vikings got last night in that game. The pressure rate the Vikings had, as I'm trying to find the tweet here. The Vikings pressured Matthew Stafford last night on only 3 of his 34 dropbacks. That's a 9% pressure rate, and it's the lowest for the Vikings that they've ever had in a game in 4 years. Not since the 2020 season has their pass rush been that bad. And I think that's the main takeaway of the game is the Vikings, they got torched a lot last night. And Matt Stafford, Nakua, Kupp, they're going to do that to teams. But the Vikings always made their bones about getting pressure. And when you can't do that and you blitz, you're in trouble.
Okay, so I have some clarifying questions because this is one of the points I wanted to talk about with this game. Does pressure mean pre-snap pressure, like they're showing they're bringing extra people?
No, it just means like the
pressure, or does pressure mean by the time the ball was thrown, there wasn't any pressure?
So pressure rate means basically, so a pressure is like if a quarterback has to move out of the pocket because of a pass rush, or if they get hit when they throw the ball or stuff like that. That's what counts as a pressure.
Okay, good. I'm glad that's what it means, because this is my point, and this is 2 losses in a row, 2 games in a row. This is the Vikings did not play CJ Stroud, who stands in the pocket and wants to sit back there for 5 whole seconds. They just played 2 teams in a row who, when the ball is snapped, the ball is out. You have 2 seconds to get to them. And it's not that the pressure wasn't coming. The pressure against the Lions, Grenard, remember, missed a strip sack from Goff. He missed him by a half an inch.
Right.
Pressure is happening. The pressure is coming. The thing that the Lions and the Rams do so well is they get the ball out early. And when the ball comes out early, CJ, what is the Vikings' biggest defensive woesome problem on that roster? They can't cover. We knew that coming in. And one of the reasons they have to pressure at an 86% clip rate, or blitz at an 86% rate, or whatever the number is because their coverage isn't very good. Well, if you get the ball out before the pressure can get there, now you're relying on these guys who cannot cover. Right. So this is probably the recipe to beating the Vikings, but it's not that the pressure isn't coming. It's that the ball is getting out before the pressure is getting there. And all it takes is 1 more second sometimes. That's all it takes. CJ Stroud, you hold the ball for 1 more second, the pressure is going to get you. Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Sean McVay, Ben Johnson, get the ball out and away from all of this stuff. And then you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Cooper Kupp, you have Puka Nacua, who just get to do whatever they want against Shaq Griffin.
A lot of zone coverage too. So people go, how is that guy that wide open? Because it's zone. And if you can pick up the blitz and wait to find the open zone, you'll find it. And those teams picked them apart for that reason. And it's why, conversely, on the offensive side of the ball, as we kind of flip things over to there, is Sam Darnold. They mentioned it in the pregame. They mentioned it early in the broadcast. Sam Darnold holds on to the ball more than any starting quarterback has this season. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is Kevin O'Connell likes to run a lot of deep concepts, like Justin Jefferson, deep to intermediate is a lot where this is not a West Coast offense, despite how much they want to pass. West Coast is quick, slants, outs, hooks, hitch, whatever. Kevin O'Connell likes to run deep route concepts. So they're asking Sam Darnold to hold the ball a little bit longer. So I'm going to give him that little out. But also, when things are available underneath, he has not always taken them. And it's led to some issues. Sam Darnold on that big Vikings were driving 4 minutes left, took a 13-yard loss on a sack because he tried to roll out of the pocket when he should have just dumped it off or gotten it away or whatever. And that's kind of something that's held the Vikings back. I don't think Sam Darnold's the reason that they lost yesterday. I thought he played an okay game. But
I don't think it's something that's held them back. That I just want to I just want to clarify. I think it hurt them in that game, particularly. Right. It hasn't been impactful, but also the Quisenberries taste like Quisenberries is playing left tackle by that point in the game.
Right. Exactly. And it's you should expect that pressure is coming and all that stuff. And
it's different. It's a Thursday. That's one of the many things that's different about a Thursday night, and then losing your all-world left tackle that he's played now. That was game 7 of the season he played 7 games without having to worry about pressure coming from anywhere to the left of him ever. And then all of a sudden he did 3 or 4 pretty crucial times the rest of that game.
And you know what the worst part about this loss is, Corey, is that it takes away from the absolute Justin Jefferson masterclass that he put on yesterday. That dude said, first of all, just an insane champagne problem for Justin Jefferson to go, I'm sick and tired of these 80, 90-yard games. He's like, I need an 100-yard game again. He got one, and that catch he made where he caught it along the sidelines, kind of popped it up to himself, still managed to bring it down, keep both feet in bounds. Amazing. Amazing catch. There's no wide receiver on the planet better than Justin Jefferson. And Aaron Jones, by the way, on a deep, I don't know if it was a wheel route, whatever it was, got matched up on a D end and just ran deep down the field. Perfect pass. And you know what the Vikings did on both those drives? They kicked field goals.
Yep.
And that's just the Rams were able to get touchdowns. The Vikings settled for field goals. And that's just kind of how things ended up breaking down. We could talk forever about this game, but I think we need to wrap it up, Corey, by talking about this one fact. The Vikings,
the face mask?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think we all agree the Vikings probably were going to lose that game anyways. They deserve to lose that game. We are not pinning this blame on the officials, prefacing it with that. That being said, that's one of the worst calls I've seen in so long. So long. Two refs were looking at it, and the pool report's like, our view is obstructed. We couldn't see it.
Dude, they're right there.
What do you mean your view was obstructed? Then why were you standing there?
You were less than 10 yards away from the play. There's no one in your way. That's the one thing you're supposed to be watching. Oh, by the way, whoever what's his nuts comes up after making the sack in the end zone and immediately grabs his own face like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. I just gave them the breathing room that they needed. Nothing. You could see him.
Right.
He was, and then obviously they're not going to call this. I can't believe it. We just won this football game. It was pretty bad. It was a pretty terrible missed call.
Pretty terrible. It was like the ref is like quiet quitting. Like, I'm almost to closing time. It's that like when you're like running the till at a store and you close at 5:00, but it's 4:30 and you just flip that sign to closed and you're there. Somebody comes in, you'll take care of them, but you're hoping that like people kind of just see the closed sign and just go on with their business kind of a deal. It felt like that ref wanted to go home.
So the question was posed. It's a scoring play, and all scoring plays are reviewable. Why is something like that not reviewable?
You can't overturn a penalty.
That's it. That's just
it's overturn a penalty.
But you could. I don't know, man. It's just weird. I get it, but like that's the. You feel like you've seen. I feel like in my life I've seen it. Well, there was actually a holding. So the touchdown doesn't count.
Remember the NFL tried to put in a rule. They put in a rule that said, okay, refs, people can challenge pass interference calls. They started with pass interference. And the refs got so petty with that rule every single review for pass interference stood. Every single one that entire season. I'm not kidding. That's not hyperbole. They did not overturn a single pass interference call because the refs are like, we are not doing this.
But pass interference is subjective.
Right. Right.
That's like, I get it. Pass interference is subjective. You know what isn't? Being grabbed by the face mask. It's obvious.
And by the way, people are forgetting earlier on a drive, I think it was on that 13-yard sack from Sam Darnold. The D-end had his whole arm wrapped around his head. And they didn't call it.
Yeah.
Because he's Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
And if it was a different quarterback, they would have called it. That's all I'm like. It's just ridiculous.
Could they have played better? Yes. But you don't like the chance being ripped away because of something stupid like that.
Were the Vikings going to win that game? Probably not. Did the refs, like, whatever. But the refs for sure made sure the Vikings didn't have a chance to win that game. And that's just, like, I don't get how you can miss it by that bad. And then the blatant just, like, poo-pooing it in the post game, like, oh, we just didn't have a good angle. Didn't have a good angle. I get you didn't, like, the guy almost had his fingers in Sam Darnold's mouth. Like,
there is no better angle.
Like, they're like, oh, just because you couldn't see it, but like, if you look at the angle, his helmet is being tilted like sideways.
There's a camera angle that shows from behind the official.
Yeah,
you can see it.
Unless you and me,
he just wasn't looking.
And,
he just wasn't looking.
And by the way, they threw that was a very flag happy crew last night.
Very.
They did not have a problem throwing flags.
I believe them when they say that we just didn't see it. But what they're not saying is that you weren't looking.
Right. I mean,
what are you looking at?
Right. Sometimes when you go to high school games, Corey, I mean, we sit right for basketball. We sit like courtside and we can hear coaches talk to officials. And sometimes officials will just look at them and go, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. You might have a claim. I don't know. I didn't see it. And it's just kind of in the game. You say it. And that's their way of going, I'm sorry, man. I missed it. We got to move on. But this is the NFL. This is $1 billion league.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, I generally speak. And by the way, this is just all because I'm petty. And
right.
That's the kind of stuff, like, you can't miss stuff like that.
Right.
And by the way, it goes the other way. I do feel solid enough in my own drawers to be like, if that happened to the Rams, that would be ridiculous.
Right.
That would be ridiculous. It wouldn't happen to the Rams, by the way, because it's Matthew Stafford. But if it did, I would understand their upheaval about it. I also believe, though, to bring it all back to just the Vikings in general, I just don't. Thursday nights are not something you can assess your team by.
Right.
It was bad and it was ugly for all the reasons it can be bad and ugly. And every single reason that you want to name is a legitimate reason that adds on to. It's not the only reason, because that would be ridiculous, but there's you can get to 20 different things about why this thing went sideways, and they're all legitimate, real reason when you add them up count. They just can't. Thursday night football cannot be assessed on a regular schedule of games. It just can't be. Unfortunately, the loss is real, and they lost twice in 5 days. That's the part that is still real. But the assessment of who the Vikings are, I'm not here to listen to any even constructive criticism. I just talk about the Lions game. Stuff in the Lions game is the relevant stuff.
Right. No doom posting tonight. Vikings defense committed 5 penalties that have given the Rams first downs. That was not ideal, but you can attribute it to Thursday night sloppiness.
Correct.
Like a little bit of it. Everybody's tired. People are whatever. And by the way, I'm not conspiratorial, and I'm going to end on this point.
Yes. No. He is. This is, by the way, this is CJ's way of saying he is conspiratorial. This is
not conspiratorial, but I generally don't. I generally blow a lot of these off. I try so hard, Corey, to be like a rational Vikings fan, or like football fan, to go, all right, sometimes my team loses. That's okay. Don't blame the refs. Don't do whatever. Like, I'm trying my best, but something in me last night when that happened just set me off for like the next hour from that game. I couldn't help but just be enraged at that. By the way, 90% of the bettors had the Vikings in that game. I don't know. There's a lot of gambling leagues that are really invested in the NFL, and the Rams got the benefit of like almost every call last night.
The stuff I hate is that if this was in US Bank Stadium, I feel like the chances of that being called go up by like 75%. If it's not Sam Darnold and it's Matt Stafford, I feel like the chances of that being called go up even higher. I hate it in the NBA. I hate, like, it's a foul or it isn't, and you don't get to.
You do not, in fact, gotta hand it to him.
You're not a human being. I'm sorry, official. I mean, I know you are, but like, we're not allowed. We have to treat you like human beings, but you're out there to enforce things as a robot.
Right.
That's your job. And you didn't do it. A robot would have. A robot would call a foul when it's a foul. Period.
Yeah.
Now I have to hate Matt Stafford.
I mean, we didn't already when he was with the Lions.
By the way, I started calling Puka Nacua Poopa real quick in that game last night.
This has been the Morning Sports Desk on a Friday, the 25th of October.
The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com. The Morning Sports Desk, available on demand on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts, and WadenaRadio.com.